Assalamu alaikum. My name is Usman Ghani, and it's a pleasure to have Ma'am Fatima Syeda with us today for an insightful discussion. Her experiences and perspectives are extremely valuable as we delve into the discussion of family sport in the life of a professional female. So, Ma'am, first of all, how are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Usman. And yes, I'm fine this morning. And thanks for inviting me to talk with you on this very important topic.
Okay, ma'am.
That's a part of your study also.
Ma'am, can you please introduce yourself and share a bit about your background and journey? That how did you ended up here in this profession?
All right. So I am Fatima Syeda,
Okay.
and I'm currently chairing the Department of English at FCCU.
Hmm.
And I'm serving here as a professor of
Hmm.
English literature specifically. I'm here for the past 19 years.
Hmm.
So I ended up here, back in 2005.
Hmm.
Talking about the journey, yes, it was a strenuous journey. A lot of struggle, yes, because I'm raised by a very strong woman that I call my mom, and she has made some special efforts to, help me come to this place because my father and his family, they are quite conservative and they would not allow the girls to continue with their education beyond a specific point in time. But I think that my mother intervened, and both myself and my sister, she wanted us to acquire education and to get into a career that is successful. And I think she worked hard for it, and here I am.
Okay. So, ma'am, what inspired you to pursue a career in specifically in English department?
Well, initially when I graduated, I think there were two majors. It was back in those times, you could take two major subjects, two elective subjects, and then one was economics and one was literature. So naturally, I think I was more attracted towards literature.
Okay.
And I then decided to do my master's in English, and I did it from FC College. At that time, it was called FC College.
Okay.
So I'm an alumni also.
Okay.
And yes, then I went for my MPhil from University of the Punjab, and my PhD is also from the same institution.
Ma'am, do you think that in Pakistan women are given equal rights as men?
Well, Usman, times are changing. We cannot
Okay.
say that the change is not there. Just like I told you, I'm here for the past 19 years now.
Okay.
So I can see the change, I can sense the change, talking about my own career and so many girls that I taught here. So times are changing now. There is an acceptance of the women coming out and acquiring education and getting into jobs. But the challenge is that, this is just an added quality. This this girl would go and acquire education and then get into a job. The other roles which were assigned by the society for a woman, they remain the same. So you have to be a perfect daughter and a perfect wife and a perfect daughter-in-law, and at the same time, you
Exactly.
are given this luxury. It is assumed that as if you're allowed to do a job, it's considered
Freedom
to
is
be,
given as a luxury to women.
it's given as a luxury. Oh, you see, we allow you to go out and work. So that's very ironic, because when a man goes out and work, and when he comes back, he is allowed to be tired, he's allowed to rest for some
I
time.
think cultural constraints plays a very important role in this as we belong from the subcontinent. If you talk about the Western countries, they're way ahead of us.
I think, yes, the general consciousness needs to be improved, but it's not that the change is not happening, but it is happening on a slower pace. And also at the same time, I would say that the women also, when they get out of their homes and they are doing jobs, it should be considered the same way that the boys get out of the homes and
Okay.
they opt for jobs. They should be considered, if not equal, okay. At least they should be considered as as human beings who are struggling, making efforts both in studies and in acquiring jobs. It's not easy for them as well.
Okay. Ma'am, can you please describe some of your role and responsibilities in your department?
Well, as chair, there are multiple duties. There are different programs that we run at the Department of English,
Okay.
Literature, ENGL programs,
Okay.
courses, and then we have linguistics program, and then we have writing and communication program, and then we have the postgraduate program, that is MPhil English Literature. So these are 4 different streams, 4 different programs, and 3 of them are degree programs. So a lot of work goes into this, and I think that there's a lot to that as well. So and then as a teacher also we have responsibilities, and then we supervise theses, and for MPhil admissions we are responsible. We prepare documents for HEC, for different requirements are there to be fulfilled, so we work on all these things.
Ma'am, can you please share some of the key skills or qualities that you believe are essential to be successful in your role, or that made you stand out?
You have to have very strong nerves, I would say.
Okay.
Because again, going back to your topic, this society is, there's no doubt, it still is a patriarchal society, and the system or the structures are built so as to if not facilitate men, I think they are made keeping in view the men and their needs, their requirements, and their requirements, their what is it that they need, and all that. So for a woman to survive in a world that is primarily built for a man, or for men in general, it becomes a bit difficult. Because the women in our society, they are wired or programmed to work the best at home.
Exactly.
So the sphere that is that the women are trained for primarily,
Yes.
it's the domestic sphere.
Exactly.
It's not the world outside the boundary of their homes. So for most of the women, when they get out of their homes, they it's a whole new world for them. So to deal with that world and then challenge the same issues or challenges that are there for the men, I think it's a great leap for them. So they should be given some space
Okay.
to breathe and adjust to this to all these new challenges.
Ma'am, have you ever encountered any gender biases or stereotypes that have affected you as a working woman?
Well, that's a very controversial kind of question. Gender bias has always been there. Why
Okay.
talk about the outside boundary? I mean, my family, just like I've told you, my mother and my siblings, they have always been very supportive. My husband also has been very supportive. But I'm talking about the times when I was not married. And my brother, he would tell me, he has been a student of finance and economics and accounts. So he would tell me to bring that yellow book or that green book, and I would tell him, you can tell me the name of the book and I can find it for you. I know how to read. And he would say, you just leave it, bring that yellow book. So and then especially being associated with a subject like literature, so he would always tell me, you people just read stories and these poems and these nice little things, you don't know anything. So there is this general perception that the women, they don't know anything, because even if they have acquired this education, they still deal with that little domestic world, and they are only comfortable with that kind of world. So I think that is that not exactly a prejudice, but a perception, I would say.
Okay. So
That
how do you overcome those gender biases or stereotypes?
I think you have to work really hard.
I guess
Maybe
that's the reason, because women in Pakistan are very insecure.
um,
They're not very confident, I guess.
if not insecure, they have to work more. I would say they have to make more effort to be heard. They
Okay.
have to they have to say, or they have to do something really good to be, considered as someone who can, still find the book,
Exactly.
not by the color,
Exactly.
but by the title.
But
So-
ma'am, that's a very controversial statement that I'm gonna make. But I think that women in Pakistan are not represented rightfully
By whom?
by the feminists.
By the feminists. Uh, Again, this is a question. This question of representation. I mean, in almost all the fields, we talk about post-colonialism, and all these post-colonial writers, they come up with this idea that we are representing a particular community or a group of people, and the people themselves, they would say, no, we are not well represented by these writers, because it's not our voice. So if someone from us would write maybe that, again, if you go to feminism, the women would feel that if a woman would write, maybe she can understand our problems in a better way instead of a man. And then if a white woman is writing, a brown woman would still feel that
Yes.
we are not well represented. So this question of representation has always been there. No matter how small the group is, there still would be some people who would think that we are not well represented.
Okay.
And there is another reason for that. There is a very small group of women who are allowed to, or who could come forward and represent themselves. So the feminists that you're talking about are maybe that small group. So
Yes.
this may be the reason that they are not the voice of all the women, and maybe it's not also naturally possible.
But I
also,
think that government should take initiative so that every woman can raise her voice.
Usman, you cannot hold the government responsible for each and everything,
Or
because
society should also take initiatives in
I
this.
think, yes, you were talking about general consciousness.
Yes.
Now, who builds the general consciousness?
Society wills.
The women, actually, I would say,
Exactly.
because they are the ones who are considered to be responsible for raising their children,
Yes.
isn't it? So,
Yes.
so they are the ones who can change, or who can bring change. I'm not again saying that the change can come like this, like a revolution.
But it
It's
is
a slow
changing with
process. It will take some time, but the women, I think they themselves can work to relieve the situation, to bring an improvement.
time. Okay. Balancing work and family life can be very challenging. So, how do you manage to maintain a healthy balance between your professional commitments and your personal commitments?
That's a hard job, because the expectations in both the fields are multiple, and I think you are not allowed to, you are not expected to compromise on anything. Perfection is required by both.
Both.
And one cannot be perfect in all
Perfect.
the fields.
Exactly.
Talking about myself, I was the youngest one in the family, so I was not much into the household
stuff.
chores, and the cooking, and all the other things that are usually the kind of roles that the women are to be seen in. So when I got married, I was like, oh, so I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible. So a lot of responsibility, and then this the kind of burden that you have, that you cannot commit a mistake, otherwise you're going to spoil that image. So I think that it really is very challenging to find a balance. Because if we talk about West, if a woman comes out and works, I think the expectations of the family are not as heavy and as burdened as they are in Pakistan.
Subcontinent.
Yeah.
Subcontinent as a whole.
As a whole, yes, you're right.
Ma'am, are there any specific strategies or routines that you follow to ensure that you prioritize both your personal commitment and professional responsibilities?
Some of the days, your professional life demands more time and more
Okay.
effort and more of yourself. And then there are times that your personal life demands more time and more. So I think it would be really nice if, there is such a structure that can support this kind of need. So if there is something at home that demands more care and more time and more attention, so maybe it would be wonderful if the woman is allowed by the employer to focus a bit more during those days on the household. Similarly, the family should also understand that when there are certain times you have to focus on something. There are some days that are very heavy with work over here. And so it's the time for the family to then
Okay.
understand that the time has to be divided
Ma'am,
unequally.
how is the experience while working with other male colleagues of yours, and how is the experience while you are working over them as you are superior to them, and how is the experience when you are working under them?
Oh, well, working at FCCU for 19 years, I think we are privileged because we are working at a place that is that believes in flourishing and celebrating diversity. And now I don't even remember since when I stopped seeing people as males and females. But maybe this question is more it would be more appropriate if you ask this question of men. How do they feel if they are
Yes.
working under, if you want to call it that way,
Yes.
women? But I think I enjoy a privileged place and a
Okay.
position at a university that believes in diversity, and for me the difference is not much.
Ma'am, as you've told that you've gotten a lot of support from your mother while you were pursuing your career. So, ma'am, how difficult do you think it is for a female who do not get any support from his family or from her family, and how can she pursue her career if she wants to? How can she be a professional?
I think the family needs to be supportive. If you want the girls to outshine, the family needs to be supportive. There are here and there cases, the exceptions are there where the girls, they make a lot of struggle to get out of that very restrictive kind of setup,
Exactly.
and they get themselves to a place which is recognizable and good. But
Okay.
otherwise, I think the family needs to trust. The family needs to build confidence. The confidence that you get from your family is what makes you outshine.
Okay. Ma'am, can you please narrate a situation when your family's encouragement or advice influenced you to take a step that was very difficult for you to take on an individual level?
Well, that would be something very personal, but I lost my eldest daughter.
Okay.
That was back in 2013.
Okay.
And at that time, I used to shiver and tremble like this. She was the only one that I'd got.
Okay.
And I have not talked about it on any public forum, but then I think that was a very hard time. I myself did not want to do anything with this world, at that time. But my mom, she called my colleague and very good friend that I have at the department, and she told her, can you please get her back to job so that she's busy and she can get to work, because at home it's
Yes.
literally vacant, and she is going to feel really bad. So just after the 3 days of having left, I was back here. And then I think I was blessed. I had a very supportive family. They pushed me into PhD at that time.
Okay.
That was a very difficult step. I mean, I myself did not want to do it because I had sort of lost interest. I had, experienced something that was really
Very
terrible,
tragic.
very terrible indeed, and I didn't know what to do. And again, I would say that my family pushed me into it, motivated, and my colleagues over here, my friends, they were all very supportive, and that's how I got
That
into
helped
my
you move out.
PhD. You know,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
didn't want to do it,
Okay.
but they supported me into it.
So, do you
So
think that one motivation helped you to move out of your trauma?
I think I got busy
Okay.
into doing things that were not important at that time for
Okay.
me, but it sort of involved me into different assignments and
Okay.
tasks that I had to do. And then maybe for some time and then I was blessed with my younger daughter, and then
Mashallah.
I got busy
Okay.
with her. So I think that was a difficult moment, and the family supported me well.
Ma'am, sometimes you have to work some on irregular hours or odd hours or on weekends. So, do you feel that your family is neglected by your professional commitments like those?
A working woman in Pakistan lives with a guilt. You know,
Yes.
a guilty wife, a guilty mom, your
Yes.
own parents and siblings. You also take them for granted, and they also understand. I don't know,
Yes.
but then you live with this guilt because we have our MPhil classes that are evening classes, and most of the times, I have meetings that are after 4 p.m. So I get back home quite late, and I have to tutor my daughter myself, because I don't, want her to be tutored by anyone else. So and then the other responsibilities, they are also waiting for me. So it becomes really very difficult. Let me tell you, these odd hours. Here in Pakistan, no one would understand, and you yourself, you are very much burdened when you go back home, and you have to deal with all that was there if you, that you would have done if you had reached earlier.
Okay. Ma'am, have you ever noticed any positive changes or initiatives aimed to promote gender equality
Yes, with
in the
some.
past few years?
Yes, with some problems. I think I've been talking about it in my classes also. The good thing is that there is more and more acceptance now. There are more and more parents who are allowing their daughters to get out of their homes and acquire education, and they even encourage the girls to get into jobs before they finally are married to someone. But and yes, they are giving more and more liberty to the girls, but the parents, they are not training their boys to deal with this, these new empowered and liberated women.
Women, exactly.
That's the problem. The boys are working with the same formula that they have in their minds, that they
Yes.
have seen their fathers doing or their grandfathers doing.
Yes.
They have the same formula, and I'll not blame the boys for that, because
They're
this is
trained like this.
yes, they're trained like this. This is what they have been doing. They don't know how to deal with this lot who's a different lot, actually.
Okay.
It's much more empowered. So I think the change has to come not just to the girls but also to the boys. Our perspective to the girls and to the boys. So both of these, I think we need to.
Okay. Ma'am, do you think that most women faces a lot of challenges while working? So I don't think so that they can open up all of those challenges that they face on work to their families.
Oh yes, that's difficult, because if they let their family know about the kind of
They won't let
problems,
her work.
they would say, okay, why would you work then? So because working for women, I've already told you, it's considered to be a luxury. Oh, we
Yes.
allowed you to work,
Yes.
Yeah, look how liberated we are.
Yes.
So it's seen as a luxury. So why would you indulge in a luxury if it's causing you problems? So you would sort of try to hide how tired you are, or how challenging your job has been.
You cannot
You'd be
complain
told
about
to,
it.
okay, so leave it. You don't want to do it, you
A
leave it.
woman is not allowed to complain about it.
We try not to complain about it, because this is not the domain that we are supposed to be in. So it's, for most of the girls, it's their choice. For most of the women, it's their choice, if they are going for a job or something like that. So you have to keep it to yourself.
Ma'am, does your family celebrate your personal achievements and milestones as a professional female?
Personal or professional?
Like as a professional female, does they celebrate your achievements, like how you got promoted and everything, or
Yes,
their
yes, they
milestones?
do. I remember my husband threw a party, and it was a surprise party for
Okay.
all my siblings when I did my PhD.
Okay.
And then my mother was specifically very happy when I was promoted to the position of professor, so she was ecstatic.
Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, what advice would you give to the young aspiring female professionals to excel in their careers?
In terms of gender, since that's your topic, I would say that both the genders have to work if they want to have a gender equality in the society. Both of them, they have to liberate each other of the set values and the traditions, the roles that are assigned to them by the society. Because if being a boy,
Yes.
you must realize that for boys also there are certain roles and certain, sets of
Responsibilities.
values and responsibilities that you cannot shake off even if you want to. Isn't it so?
Yes.
So, and the girls also would expect. So, if you go out with a woman or with a girl, she would expect you to pay. Because
Yes.
being a male, the money should come from your
Yes.
side. So, the expectations from the men are also there.
Yes.
It's not just that we expect too much from the women, we expect from the men also. So I believe that both the genders, they have to liberate each other. Otherwise, the real or the true liberation or freedom is not possible.
Ma'am, on the basis of your whole experience while working for about 19 years, mashallah, so what advice would you give to a woman who is going out of his house in order to search for a job? What challenges that she can face? What are the challenges that she can face?
These two worlds
Because
are really,
generally, I think in society, women are considered very fragile.
they are considered fragile, and maybe if you're talking in biological terms,
They
maybe
are.
yes, they are more delicate. Fragile is a bit negative word that the women would not like to use. They are delicate. So the outside world, as well as the family, they have to be aware of the restrictive conditions that the women have. Only then they can do well in a society, because these two worlds are totally different. So if you provide the women chances to experiment in the outer world
Okay.
also, this will help them to gain that confidence.
Ma'am, I was just talking to Ma'am Uzma Yusuf Zaidi about this thing, and she said that एक औरत अगर एक रास्ते से गुजर रही है तो वो बार बार अपना रास्ता क्यों चेंज करे? She should go through that way and ignore everything in her way.
Uh, Sometimes I would say that if changing that path can help you out and make you feel better, why not?
But ma'am, how many times can you change the path?
You don't
Because-
need to. If it is forced upon you by an external force, then you have to be, you should be the one who's to decide how uncomfortable it is for you
Okay.
to continue following the same path. Of course, she was right when she said that it becomes normative, and then a day would come when no one would even notice that this woman is passing through this path. But then I'm of the opinion that if you do whatever makes you feel comfortable, one should even not be egoistic also. Okay, why would I do it?
Ma'am, how did you specifically overcome the cultural barriers?
Overcoming the cultural barriers.
Because you've told me that your mother was very supportive for you while you were studying, but afterwards you started to do a job, which is, if I go back in time, was considered a taboo for a woman to work. So
It depends on the kind of job that you're doing. I think I played safe. I'm teaching. Teaching is considered to be one of the appropriate jobs for women. So in our country, teaching and in medicine, and there are certain professions which are associated with the women. They can work in banks, they can be the IT workers, but then there are certain jobs that the women would not be appreciated for doing, like women working in stores. Still, I think there is lack of acceptance for that. And then we don't have women bus drivers.
But I'm seeing women riding motorcycles,
Riding
and
bikes. That's something new, and that's
Yes.
really good. It's really good. Initially, I've been noticing it that people would look like this. Oh, a girl is riding a bike. Now they are becoming used to it.
Used to it.
And it's really good.
Yes.
Because not all the girls can afford to, drive a car. They don't have cars, all of them individually. But then bikes they can afford.
Yes.
So if they can
And
ride a bike, I think
ride-
it's wonderful.
And in that way, they are not dependent on anyone too. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. It was
You're
a
welcome.
wonderful experience while talking to you. So thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me here,
Okay, ma'am.
Usman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.